Good morning, everybody. Happy Hanukkah to all. We are going to be studying Parshat Miketz this morning. We're going to be looking at some of the very important contributions made by the 19th century biblical commentaries on this very. But before we get there, as we have been doing over the past few weeks, we're going to look at the psukim and then look at some of the more classical medieval commentaries, building up to our analysis of the 19th century Mefarshim. So Parshat Miketz is such a it's such a thrilling parsha. I mean, if you feel like you're at the movies when you're reading the text, when you think about and you read about all the drama that is Parsha. So we're going to pick it up when it really becomes quite dramatic, when the brothers find themselves in front of Yosef. They have not seen Yosef for over 20 years, and now they are standing in front of their long-lost brother. Of course, they don't know that they're in front of Yosef. Yosef knows that he is the one in the presence of his brothers. Let's look at the Torah's recording of this incident. In source number 1, this is Perek Membeis Pasuk Vav. V'Yosef hu hashalit al haaretz, hu hamashpir l'chol am haaretz. Now Joseph was the ruler over the land. It was he who sold grain to the entire populace of the land. Vayavohu achei Yosef vayishtachavu lo apayim. And Joseph's brothers came and prostrated themselves to him with their faces to the ground. Vayar Yosef es achav vayakirim. And Joseph saw his brothers and he recognized them. Vayitnaker alehem. But he made himself a stranger to them. Vayidaber itam kashot. And he spoke harshly to them. Vayomer alehem me'ayim ba'atem. And he said to them, "Where are you from?" Vayomru me'eretz Canaan lishpor ochel. We come from land of Israel, from Canaan, to purchase food. Vayaker Yosef es achav, and Yosef recognized his brothers. Note the fact that that's repetitive, because the Torah already told us that Yosef recognized his brothers. But for one reason or another, the Torah repeats itself, and the Torah also tells us v'lehem lo hikiruhu, but not recognize Yosef. For Yosef is hachalamos asher chalam lahem. Yosef remembered the dreams that he had of his brothers. Vayomer elehem, and he said to them, "Radle matem, you are spies. Liros es irvat aretz basem. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." So this is the beginning of the story of Yosef's interactions with his brothers and the ensuing drama that with Yosef revealing himself to his brothers, but that doesn't happen until next week's Parsha, so you have to come back next week to learn about that. The twofold. I should say there really are two questions that we need to unravel. The first question, the most overarching question, is why is Yosef acting so harshly to his brothers? Yosef hasn't seen his family members in many, many years. And the first thing he does is accuse them of being spies. What type of brother is that? Now, you might say to me, well, they to Egypt. What type of brother does that? That's a fair point. But we know that two wrongs don't make a right. But of course, two rights make an airplane. Okay, so that is the overarching and most substantive question that we'll be addressing this morning. But a question that absolutely needs our attention, and one that we will address at first, is how come Yosef was able to recognize, but they were not able to recognize him? So let's start with that question, a little bit more of a minor question, but it will serve as a pathway, as a transition point for us to delve into the second, more overarching question. Everyone got it? That's the menu for today's class. So Rashi in source number 2 has some famous words. Rashi writes as follows: Vayaker Yosef lefi shehinicham chasume zakan. Yosef left his brothers when they were already deep into puberty and beyond, so they had beards. So Yosef was able to recognize his brothers because it was essentially the same face that he saw when he left over 20 years ago. Says Rashi on the next one, but they did not recognize him. Sheyatza mi'atzlam below chasim zaken. He left, did not have a beard. And now he had a full beard. Umedrash Agada, and Rashi goes on to quote a Medrash Agada, Vayaker Yosef Esachav Kishanimsru Biado Hikir Shehim Echab Birachim Alehem. When the brothers were thrown at the mercy of Yosef, so he recognized his brothers. Vehemo Hikiruhu Kishanapal Biyadam Linhog Bo Achla, but they did not recognize him when he was at their mercy. It's almost like the Torah is throwing in a cynical statement that Yosef recognized them, meaning Yosef chose to treat them like a brother, but they did not recognize him. They refused all those years ago. Now, this statement of Rashi itself requires a great deal of analysis that will not happen today. But is it really a fair statement? Yosef recognized his brothers. Oh, really? He treated them like brothers? Just read the Psukim. He had them in jail. He causes them a tremendous amount of admas nefesh. So is this statement from Rashi accurate? Yosef treats his brothers like brothers. They don't treat him the same. I'm not sure. We're not going to focus on that point. I'm just putting that out as a question that you can consider on your own. So that's Rashi's comment. Rashi again tells us that why is it that Yosef recognized them, but they did not recognize him? Yosef, when he was sold to Mitzrayim, already was able to get a glimpse into the adult faces of his brothers, but he was 17, and now his face looked very different. Exactly. He's a ruler.
His dress, man.
I'll tell you what the Radak says, something unbelievable. The Radak essentially says that, listen, faces are faces. And someone who's 17, probably similar to what he is looking like at 30. So from the perspective of the facial dimension, they didn't necessarily change. But the Radak says something unbelievable. The Radak says, the brothers could have never fathomed what Yosef would become. It could be that the man sitting on the throne that day was a spitting image of Yosef at 17. Maybe he didn't even have a beard. But the brothers simply could not process that the man sitting in front of them was the young boy that they sold. That's what the Radak writes in source number 3. Vayar Yosef esecha v'yakireim Dak perish abosinu zal sheyatza below chasim hazaken, that Yosef left without a beard. Aval heim hayu b'chasim hazaken, but the brothers already had their beards. Lefikach hikiram hu v'heim lo kihikiru. That's why he recognized them, but they did not recognize him. One sec, let's just read through the Radak. The Efshar, it could be, said the Radak, shehikiruhu afal pisha haya b'chasim hazaken. It could be that the brothers did recognize him, even with the beard that was not present on his face all those years ago. Lulei shara'uhu b'gedola. The fact that now they're seeing him as a man of great prominence. V'hayoracho be'eneihem me'od she'yehei hu Yosef achruhu le'aved. It was beyond the pale of consideration to the brothers that this would be the same Yosef that they sold all the. Now suddenly he is the ruler in Egypt. It can't be. It can't be. So the brothers just simply could not let their mind go there because they thought it was incredibly unlikely, impossible, that this was the same Yosef. V'amru b'libam, and they said in their hearts, even though it very much looks like the same person, I put the comma in the wrong place. It should be read the Amru Belibam, Even though his punim looks just like, or I should say just like, even though the person that we're standing in front of looks just like Yosef, there are many people that look similar one to the other. I get Brad Pitt all the time. Sorry. Therefore, the brothers thought it was just entirely unlikely, impossible, that this would be Yosef. Okay, so that is the insight of the Radak. Now we see both Rashi, Radak, that for one reason or another, either because they look very different, or I should say Yosef looked very different, or because it was just so unlikely, one way or the other, the brothers did not recognize Yosef. Everyone with me so far? Good. Let's look at the Or HaChaim, a beautiful interpretation as well. Hagam shehu hikiram letzad shenicha b'chasim hazaken, already had their adult faces with their beards. Umiteva and enoshi kishetolad hayediya b'leiv echad mehashnayim gam b'leiv hasheni yisorer b'chinas hazikarim. The Or HaChaim says something unbelievable. The Or HaChaim says that when two people have a relationship, when one person thinks of something, it's not uncommon for the other to have that thought as well. That's what the Or HaChaim says. When two people have a relationship, it happens all the time with a husband and wife. Oh, I was just thinking the same thing. That's the Or HaChaim. That's the way the Rebbeinu Shalom created us. That it's the natural way for people who are close to one another to have similar thoughts. Ki halavavos yagidu sodos ne'elamim. Because our hearts information. So I can have a piece of information I don't want you to know, but since we have such a close relationship, heart doesn't hide it. That's what the Or HaChaim says. Very interesting. Ki omrom, as the pasuk in Proverbs initially reads, Kimayim hapanim lepanim, like water reflects. So when you look in water, the sky is right. You can see the reflection of yourself. So too a heart reflects. So what I have in my heart is reflected to somebody else, and that's why my wife always tells our kids that they can't lie because all secrets and all truths. So if you're telling me you wash your hands, I know if you really wash your hands. It also happens to be that you can tell because there's usually water left over. But that's a separate point. I can't give away all of our secrets. Okay, so says the Or HaChaim as follows: V'yidaktiku be'enayim be'netzach be'dibor ba'yediyah holeches v'godeles ad sheyeshalim habachon. Essentially, writes the Or HaChaim as follows: that when there's something deep to relate to somebody else, you relay the information in other ways besides verbal communication. That's what the Or HaChaim says. Even though this is correct, that there can be this non-verbal communication between people who have a relationship, Modia HaKasav Shehem Lo Hikiru. The Torah is telling us that even though they are brothers, they did not recognize Yosef, meaning that sort of telepathy, right? The non-verbal communication wasn't working between Yosef and his brothers. V'hatam letzad re'oso berum hama'alos. Because they see this person sitting on this throne in Egypt, hichlitu habechina libam mechashov davar zeh. They just thought it wasn't possible. So it's a very, but I included it because I thought it was very creative. The way the Or HaChaim develops this idea that there is nonverbal communication, and people who are very close, one thing to another without speaking one word. That power was turned off for the brothers because they just thought it was so beyond the likely, even the most it was so beyond the pale of consideration, as I said before, that this was Yosef that they were standing in front of. So they wrote it off, and because they wrote it off, that sort of non-relation wasn't working at all. I'm sorry. That's true. But I don't think the Or HaChaim is saying it's just something that's given. This gift is something that's given to families. You have friends who are very, very close to one another, can know what the other is thinking or feeling, even without having spoken one word. Yom Kippur, one of the al-chait that we say, I forget the exact language, but I remember the article speaks about having haughty eyes, right? Because sometimes you can communicate with your eyes more than you can communicate with your mouth. And you can look down with disdain upon somebody else, literally looking down with disdain. You can carry yourself with a certain air of arrogance without even saying a word. So sometimes that can work to your advantage. You can have a very close relationship with somebody and you can relay a ton of information without saying anything, right? Again, think about the interaction with your spouses. You're in a big crowd, in a big room, and you can communicate so much to your spouse and they get you without saying anything. The Or HaChaim is saying that didn't work here because the brothers wrote way he could be Yosef. So that information, that nonverbal information was not working at this time. Okay, nice idea. It's an extension of the second approach. So we've got Rashi who says very practically, here Radak telling us that the brothers simply dismissed the idea that it could be Yosef, and the Or HaChaim is the extension to that concept that the brothers were not able to gain any nonverbal communication from Yosef because they dismissed him. Good. Now, let's try to tackle the real issue. And what is the real issue that requires tackling? How do we explain Yosef's behavior? Yosef turns to his brothers. He accuses them of being spies. Yosef imprisons one of them, forces Binyamin to come down. He then creates further drama. Placing the goblet in Binyamin's sack, he brings the brothers to tears. He basically forces Yehuda to give himself up as a slave. I mean, it's terrible. How does Yosef act this way? We call Yosef Atzadik. What? Good for him. Retribution, that's an Isra of Nekama. We would hold Yosef Atzadik, to a higher standard and not say that he's simply getting revenge. I can't accept that. What?
Sold him as a slave.
Okay, yes.
That's the worst you can do.
Okay, but did it work out for Yosef on some level? Did it work out for Yosef? Did he spend his life, careful what I say over here, because he did spend his life somewhat in jail, but he was living the life in jail. He wasn't a Nebuch in jail. Okay, but right now, we could just sort of take a snippet, a little snapshot of Yosef. He's the second in command in perhaps the most influential and powerful world at the time. Things happen to work out okay for him. So you don't think a man of his stature understood that this was the hand of God? Okay, we'll get there. And we're going to see that that's an idea that is articulated by the Ramban and also by the Netziv. So we'll get there. Okay.
Think about
what they did. Okay. So again, could respond to each and every one of your points. Nothing I'm going to say will be able to take into account all your comments and answer them at a satisfactory level, but I'll try to present essentially two different pathways that you find in the commentaries. One is based on the Ramban and will be echoed by the Netziv and Haksaba HaKabbalah. Those are two of our 19th century commentaries. And then we'll see a very interpretation by Rav Hirsch. Okay? So let's look right now at the Ramban. We have studied this Ramban 2 years ago. We're going to look at it today with a fresh set of eyes, particularly because we will add on to the Ramban's commentary from the Netziv and Haksaba HaKabbalah. So let's look at what the Ramban writes in source number 5. Yomar HaKasav, the Torah tells us, Ki beros Yosef es echav mishtachavim lo, When Yosef sees his brothers, remember, that's what we read in source number 1 towards the end of the 6th verse. They bow down to their face in front of Joseph. So the Ramban is saying, at that moment, when he sees his brothers, by the way, how many of his brothers were bowing down at this juncture? How many? No, there were not 11, 10, because Benjamin was still back in Israel. So when Yosef sees 10 of his brothers bowing down to him, so he remembers Zochar kol hachalamos asher chalam lahem. He remembers the dreams that he had of them. V'yodeya shelo niskayim echad mehem b'pamazos. And he also understands that he did not even fulfill even one dream at this point. The first dream had how many of the sheaves bowing down to Yosef's sheaf? How many? It had 11. The next dream had the brothers and the sun and the moon, the mama and the tata. So the reason Yaakov told Yosef the whole dream was Narishkeit is because the mama was already dead. Right? Rachel had already passed away. Rashi, though, writes that it wasn't a reference to Bilhah, who raised Yosef like her son. That was Rachel's maidservant, if I'm remembering correctly. I always get confused which one was which, Bilhah and Zilpah, but I'm pretty sure Bilhah was Rachel's maidservant. Judy, does that sound familiar? And by Judy, I mean Judy's. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm pretty sure that's what Rashi writes. Anyways, the moon might have represented the surrogate mother, not the actual mother, but the surrogate mother. So there was that the dreams were going to be fulfilled. In fact, we're going to read that they are fulfilled. But Yosef understands at this juncture, right now, was the dream fulfilled? Was the first dream of the 11 sheaves bowing down, was it fulfilled? Yosef understands? No. Because only we've got 10 men here, not 11. So Yosef remembers his dream and he realizes that not even the first dream was fulfilled at this moment. Ki yodea bepitronam. Yosef, who is a man who understands the interpretation of the dreams, knows ki kol echad yishtacha v'lo batechila min hachalam harishon. He understands, based on his first dream, that all the brothers needed to bow down to him. And that's what the Ramban draws upon the text of the Torah from Parshat Vayeshev. V'hinei anachnu ma'alumim alumim. We were creating sheaves. We were putting the wheat into bundles. Ki anachnu. When Yosef says anachnu, we yirmos l'chol echad asar. He was hinting to all of his brothers. Echad, all 11 of his brothers. Upam shenis, and the second dream he had, yishtacha v'lo hashemesh v'hayareach, the sun and the moon. There was the sun and the moon, meaning Yaakov and Bilhah, and the 11 brothers. And when Yosef sees that 10 of his brothers are bowing down, Yosef on the fly comes up with this scheme, with these accusations that he threw. So that they are forced to bring Benjamin down as well. In order to fulfill the first dream first. Yosef understood not only were they two dreams, they were in chronological order. So we first had to have a dream of 11 men bowing down to Yosef. And only then the dream where we have the 11 brothers plus the mama and the tata. Not literally the mama, not the biological mama, but the surrogate mama, the stepmama. So Yosef understood that they had to happen in order. So he wasn't running to bring down Yaakov too soon. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to take it slow. Yeah, it's Jeff.
Always heard the story of the dream, Joseph's dream. Is this actually the dream was actually
Yeah, the dream was actually prophecy.
And if it's
Yes.
prophecy, it's really the word of God.
Yes.
Really emphasizing through Joseph.
Yes.
So that really his action, his way of behaving, but it's really very secondary. He may have done this on the fly, but he was responsible to follow through on prophecy.
Good. So as you said that, Jeff, 100%, let's just skip to the Netziv. Okay, we're going to come back and finish the Ramban because it's a critically important Ramban, but just skip with me now to source number 7, the Ha'emek Davar, commentary on the Torah. Writes the Netziv, Es HaChalamos, right? Yosef remembers the dreams. Shnei HaChalamos, he remembers. Netziv is commenting on Pasuk Tes, on verse 9. After the Torah tells us that Yosef sees his brother, does not, he realizes that they don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. The Torah tells us that Yiskor Yosef Es HaChalamos Asher Chalam, he remembers his dreams. And it's only at that point that Yosef begins accusing them of coming down to Egypt to spy. He speaks initially, but no accusations are made. It's only after the Torah tells us that he remembers his dreams does he start accusing them of being spies. He is standoffish initially, but he doesn't accuse them of anything. Only after the Torah tells us that he recalls his dreams does the Torah go on to tell us that he accuses them of being spies. So you see that the accusations follow Yosef's recall of his dreams. So look what the Netziv writes in source number 7. V'hodia hakasov shalom machmas nikima chas v'shalom ki salech imam be'akshus kazeh. So Judy, Netziv says, God forbid to accuse Yosef of being vengeful. We can hold to a higher standard. The Torah is telling us clearly that Yosef's actions, Yosef's cruelty, akshanas, his stubbornness, his cruelty, was not a result of his revenge, his desire for revenge. That's not what's happening over here. Bolder words in source number 7. Ella mishum shenizkar hachalamos shehu ke'ein. What's the next word? Nevuah. What's nevuah, Jack? Nevuah is prophecy. Writes the Netziv that Yosef recalls his dreams. That propels him to act because he understood that his dreams were a form of prophecy. Shaharei hachalom harishon kvar niskayim. The first dream is already fulfilled. Now that's very interesting, because if we contrast the Ramban to the Netziv, they say very different things. The Ramban tells us that the first dream was not fulfilled. Because when Yosef says, "V'hinei anachnu ma'alumim alumim," means we were in the field gathering the grain. That includes Binyamin. There were 12 of us in total. The Netziv says, no, never says that there were 11 sheaves of grain. It just says that we were gathering grain. So we could mean 10 brothers plus, Yosef. So it says the dream was just fulfilled when they bowed down to Yosef. And therefore the Netziv says, Yosef thought to himself, well, hey, if the first dream was just fulfilled, so clearly it was prophetic, so now it's my responsibility to fulfill the second dream. And if I don't do so, it would be like a desire to give over the prophecy, which is a very, very, very severe prohibition of Torah. For a Navi not to relay his prophecy is tantamount to the sins of murder. I mean, he's everything. But what happened with Yoni? He runs away, doesn't go to Nineveh, he gets gobbled up by a whale. Exactly. Meaning exactly. When someone is given the gift of prophecy and God has a message that he would like relayed to the prophet, it's the prophet's business to make sure that happens.
There's a whole section in this book.
Okay, good. Very good. Therefore, says the Netziv, Yosef, what can I do to bring my brothers down so that I can be the one to fulfill the second dream? So I do think that it's very interesting that the Ramban and the Tziv are having a little sub-machlokas, in the sense that both of them agree that Yosef is being propelled by his dream, so that was a prophecy. But the Ramban says the first dream was not yet fulfilled, because Yosef had a dream where 11 stalks of wheat or sheaves of wheat, bundles of wheat, bowed down to him. The Netziv says they were only 10, and that first dream was fulfilled. Quite frankly, I find the Netziv's commentary more compelling. Because in Yosef's mind, if he thinks the first dream already came true, it's even more license to go ahead and add brothers to fulfill the second dream. According to the Ramban, the first dream wasn't even fulfilled yet. So who gives you license to go ahead and create all this tumult? So I understand it a little bit more according to the Netziv. He felt that the first dream already came true. Now it's my responsibility to go ahead and fulfill this, and make sure it's fulfilled. So that's the approach of Ramban and the Netziv. Now, if a person was going to reject the approach of Ramban and the Netziv, what would you say? What would you say? If you had to come up with basically one idea, this approach, you offer to counter this very convincing idea from Ramban and Netziv? So all of our viewers on the World Wide Web, you're not able to raise your hand, at least not yet, so you can just consider the different approaches. But I'll tell you what Rapursh says, and when I gave a shir on this topic a few years ago, we also studied the Kli Yakar, which we were today. But the Kli Yakar and Rapursh basically say the same thing. Yosef, who made you God? God gives a person prophecy and says directly, please relay this information. You got to relay this information. God comes to Yonah and says, okay, Yonah, you got to go relay that to Nineveh. You don't have the luxury of going in a different direction, saying, God, I'm not interested. But is that exactly the same thing as having a dream? Is that exactly the same thing as having a dream? I don't think so. Who made Yosef God? Who made it Yosef's job to go ahead and fulfill his dreams?
But if it's prophecy, it's not up to him to decide. God.
Who said that all prophecy must be related? The prophecy that the butler and the Sar Hamashkin, the one in charge of the drinks, the bartender, I don't know what else to call him. Baker, I'm sorry, the butler and the baker, right? So those prophecies, or those dreams, are also prophetic because it happened. To go to the palace and tell Paro to rehire the butler and not the baker and kill the baker? No, that's not played out by itself. So why can't you say that there was the same thing with these dreams? Let it play out by itself. Who made Yosef God? Who made Yosef in charge to the extent that he had permission to cause his brothers and his father so much agmas nefesh, so much pain, because he wanted to fulfill his dreams? Who died and left Yosef in charge? So that's going to be the response from Rapursh. Rapursh is going to be fundamentally uncomfortable with the approach of Ramban. He doesn't directly address the Netziv, but he does indirectly address the Ramban, and we can group the Netziv along the same lines. Who Rapursh?
What does he say?
Well, we'll get there in a minute or two. But that's what Rapursh is going to write. If you believe that the dream had prophetic tones to it, so ask the person who sent you the dream to make it happen. Don't do it yourself, right? A very reasonable response to the approaches of Ramban and Netziv. So we don't have time to read all of this Ramban inside. I guess I can just direct you back to the class from 2 years ago. You can go back to the recording. I don't think there was a recording, but I'm sure you have the notes. So the Ramban essentially goes on and to say a very, very insightful comment that it must be that Yosef always was waiting for the dreams to come true, and that's why he didn't send word back to his father that he was alive. Why didn't Yosef send a little piece of postcard, here in Cairo having fun on the banks of the Nile? Why didn't Yosef send word back after all these years? Okay, so you'll tell me he was in jail, and he didn't have a privilege of sending mail in jail. Fine, mail in jail, it's a nice rhyme. But he wasn't in jail for all of the years he was away. First of all, he was in Potiphar's house. We don't know for exactly how long. He couldn't make bail because he was in jail and he couldn't send mail. I like that. Okay.
That was just practice.
I'm sorry. It was a little bit slow though, like a stale.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's a good thing my wife isn't here. I'd be getting that non-verbal. Okay. So the Ramban says, why didn't Yosef send word after all of these years? What stopped Yosef from sending word? It must be, says the Ramban, that Yosef understood that these dreams that he had were prophecy, and part of the dreams were that Yosef was going, let me reframe it. Part of the dream was that the brothers and Yaakov were going to come to him, that he wasn't going to come to them. The Ramban says that Yosef understood that the dreams were going to be fulfilled in Chutz La'aretz, outside the land of Israel. And as such, Yosef did not feel that it was in his right to send his father. Because if he did, Yaakov would say, I'm happy you're okay, come and visit me. I'm not going to come to you. I don't want to leave Israel. Come and visit me. So Yosef, think about the tremendous mesiras nefesh on the part of Yosef, not to send word to his father, but Yosef understood that, yes, the dreams were absolutely, and as such, he had no right to violate the prophecy and to send word to his father and travel up north to visit his father. He understood that he had to wait, sit on his hands, wait for the opportunity to come his way, for the brothers to come down to Mitzrayim and to bow down to Yaakov, to bow down to Yosef in Mitzrayim. So that's the Ramban's analysis. Judy.
Why is faithful imagination in order to fulfill the second law? Why is there much pain in saying that?
Right. But you're saying, according to the Ramban, that Yosef didn't think either of the dreams were fulfilled. He had to do some terrible deeds, some very, very hurtful accusations of brothers to bring Binyamin down the first time. Fine. But after that, right, I hear what you're saying, meaning, did it really warrant so much agmas nefesh as Yosef caused his brothers? It's a very good question. Right, it's a very good question. It's a very good question. I don't have all the answers. So let's look at a different interpretation, that of Rav. Before we jump to our first, just look quickly in source number 6, Haksava Kabbalah, Rav, who we discussed a little bit last week. His comments are a long line of the Ramban and the Netziv, and he writes the point that we discussed earlier, that the Torah goes out of its way to tell us that Joseph remembered his brothers Joseph remembered his dream. Before telling us that Joseph devises all of these schemes, to tell us that what was propelling Joseph when he was scheming against his brothers, the fulfillment of the dreams. Right, Haksava Kabbalah in source number 6. Lachein hektima haTorah v'yiskor Yosef es hachalamos. The Torah first tells us that Yosef to tell us, to inform us, shekol ma she'asa lo asa ela merov tzidkaso, that everything is so harsh and cruel. No. It was coming from a place of righteousness. Yosef was ensuring that the dreams would be fulfilled. He didn't want to go against the will, the decree of the Almighty, the decrees of God. But Yosef had to force himself to act cruelly, had to force himself to act in a harsh manner, because Yosef felt compelled by the dreams to go ahead with the plan. So you see now the Ramban, Netziv, and Haksava Kabbalah all take this approach, and I would say all of them hang their hat on Because quite frankly, if it wasn't about the dreams, that phrase is like a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with this narrative at all. Good. Comes along Rav Hirsch, and the hour is already getting late, so I'm going to be Miketz a little bit on Rav Hirsch. But Rav Hirsch says as follows. We already pointed out Rav Hirsch does not agree Yosef was trying to fulfill his dreams, because who made him boss? Who gives you permission to act cruelly to somebody else in the name of God? Not okay. Okay, so then what's going on over here? So it says Rav Hirsch as follows, that Yosef understood that the time had come to be reunited with his father. Why he didn't send word back earlier? Not for now. He didn't. But the time had come to be reunited with his father and with his family at large. Was deeply concerned that if he would come back to the family, what are the dynamics going to be? Is he going to be warmly accepted, or is he going to be rejected? Let's remember that as far as Yosef is concerned, his brothers were not interested at all in Yosef being part of the family. They sent him away. They sold him to slavery. Now, we know that people mature. We know that the brothers were deeply regretful for what they did. But Yosef doesn't know that. We know that. We know how much sorrow they feel even going through this ordeal, and they think that it's God getting them back for what they did to their brother all those years ago. We know that. Yosef didn't know all of this. And says Rav Hirsch that if Yosef would have simply, at this moment, of course the brothers would have been cordial, and the brothers would have given Yosef a hug. Would they have really been so interested in having him back in the family? Let me compound the issue. What was some of the cause of the tension initially when Yosef was a young man and was part of the family? Well, a lot of the cause of the tension was the fact that Yosef was perceived to be the one that was going to rule the family. He was the one that wore that coat. He was the one in charge, or was destined to be in charge. And the brothers had a hard time with him. So Yosef is thinking to himself as follows: when I was a young man, my father said to me, sorry, it's a reference to a secular song. So, but when I was a young boy, my father said, okay, fine. The point is as follows: that Yosef said to himself, when I was a young boy and I was just wearing a coat, and that's really all the stature I had was a coat, my brothers hated me. I feel myself, and I am the second in command, the viceroy in Egypt. You don't think that that's going to cause even a greater animosity and friction between you? So A, I think they hate me to begin with. And number two, their source of the hatred was my role as the leader of the family. Now I'm not only the leader of the family, I'm the leader of the second in command in the most powerful nation in the world. Won't that be even further cause for their animosity? Yosef had real reservations about coming back home. I don't mean that in a physical way. I mean that in the emotional, familial relationship way. Yosef had real cause for reservation. Should I really be going back home? Are they ready for me? So what do? You miss your family terribly. Let's assume Yosef misses family terribly. I think that's a very reasonable assumption. Misses his family terribly. He's longing for his father's embrace, but he's very, very hesitant. So what do? Have things changed? Have things not changed? Will I be just very cordially accepted, but nothing more? What do? You're in Yosef's shoes. What do? So I'll tell you what it first says. The first says that Yosef came with this great idea. Let me test the brothers. Let me see what their feelings are towards Binyamin, the other son from the beloved wife, and let me see how they react when I put Binyamin in a dangerous situation. Let me see how my brothers act toward one another. And then ultimately, let me reveal myself not as Yosef, but as the ruler of Egypt, who's in charge. Let me show them who I am. And let that be sort of the point of departure for our new relationship. Rav Hirsch says that at this point, it could be that Yosef came across as just another one of the people selling grain in Egypt. Maybe the brothers didn't even understand who they were standing in front of. So Yosef had to come up with this scheme to show off his talent, because he wanted to make it pretty clear to them, I'm coming back not as just like Yosef, but as a real ruler. I need to be okay with him, because this is who I am. But let me read you a little bit from our Parsha's analysis, snippets, but important snippets nonetheless. So I remind you again that our Parsha wrote in his native tongue, which was, commentary was translated both to English and to Hebrew. So we're reading the Hebrew commentary, right? Source summary. Aleinu lenasos levaer es hanhagas Yosef mitoch haksav. We are compelled to try to understand Yosef's actions that emerge from the text. Hayimiskaba al hadas sheyisvada aleiha miyad. One would have revealed himself immediately. V'lo rak leman aviv, not just for his father's sake. Umagam shekvar ra b'chol hashgaga ha'elokis. Yosef himself understood that this was all providence. Right? There were two reasons that we would expect Yosef to immediately reveal himself. Number one, he understands how much tsar his father must have been in all of these years. But number two, Yosef perspective now. He's standing as the viceroy in Egypt. He understands that this was all God's plan. So with that capacity, forgiveness, for that depth of knowledge, that this was all via Hashem, that should also have allowed him to reveal himself very quickly. So for two reasons: for the fact of his father's suffering, and we understand that Yosef gets it. All of this sa'ar was really perfect. All of his years of suffering were to bring him to this moment in time where he's second command in Egypt. So from both those perspectives, writes Hirsch, I would have expected Yosef to immediately have revealed himself. Let's just skip now to the bolder word. Yosef was a very smart person. We would expect more of Yosef than to think that it's his job to fulfill the dreams. If there are importance to dreams, if Yosef's dreams had prophetic undertones to them or overtones, or it itself was prophecy, of those dreams should be given to the one who sent the dreams, like we said before. So why isn't Yosef revealing himself? What's going on over here? Rak, next paragraph, Shikulim shel hechrich yachlu ohavi oso lidei ma'asim shebelo zeh yiru kehatradas chasaras kol tachlis. Says Rav Hirsch, a little bit of a challenging Hebrew sentence over there. Says Rav Hirsch that it must be a critical need was motivating Yosef at this point. Otherwise, what he was doing was altogether cruel and uncalled for. So what is this other need? Writes Rav Hirsch as follows. The last paragraph on the Ilu Rata Yosef le'amod mul aviv ve'achav kisar. The kisar belvad. If Yosef wanted to reveal himself to his brothers as an officer, someone in charge, but that alone. If he wasn't concerned about returning to the family as a son and as a brother, then he wouldn't have had to come on to all of these schemes. If he simply was going to be sufficiently happy with the cordial, cold relationships between himself and others, then none of this scheme was necessary. Not necessarily at all. Ahu shegam kisar mitzri chinech esbanav lebeis Yaakov. But Yosef wasn't going to be happy enough with formal, frosty relationships, because he was raising his kids to be Jews. He was raising his kids with a love for their Zaydi, for Yaakov. After Yosef, or I should say, as Yosef is passing, he instructs his family to take his bones back up, meaning we see that Yosef's desires were not to remain as a prince of Egypt, right, if you will, but he wanted to come back with his family. He wanted to be part of Bnei Yisrael. Therefore, basically, he had to change 2 dimensions of the relationship. What are the 2 dimensions? The last page. Lahavi lidei shinoi v'da'ato al achiv. He had to change his understanding of the brothers. Ach be'ikr v'das achiv alav. He also had to change the way his brothers perceived him. Again, twofold intent that Yosef had in mind at this moment. He had to change the way he sees his brothers, and more importantly, he had to change the way his brothers see him. And therefore, he had to give them a mivchan. What's a mivchan? A test. Im od pa'am yiyu misugalim, v'apam mitoch sibos mitziusos behait, l'natek ben mechek adu. We had to see, under really dire circumstances, where the brothers still be able to separate a son from a father. Remember, he's going to create the circumstance where Binyamin would have been robbed from Yaakov. He wanted to see, were the brothers the same? Were the brothers willing, under really dire circumstances, to leave their brother? Or would they stand up for their brother? Ulai me'asar olam. These are the circumstances. They could be imprisoned forever. Ulai ha'mishpacha be'beit ha'nimka b'rav. The family that remained back in Israel, they were dying from starvation. Ulai hayu ela sibos ritzonios. Yoser. Ma'asher sakana dimyonos hatzafulem. The dangers that face the brothers now in the drama that's unfolding were far more real, present, critical than the dangers that they felt when Yosef was a young boy back at home. Kiviyachol mit avos hashilton shel Yosef, just based on the concern of what Yosef might do in the future. Right now, there was clear and present danger. There were many more circumstances which we would have understood with the brothers would have chosen to take the food and go home. But Yosef, the brothers don't do that. But Yosef was trying to create circumstances that were far more dire than they were 20 plus years ago when Yosef was just prancing around with the coat pretending to be in charge. That was fake. This is real. Mivchan zeh haya nachutz lenefesh Yosef. Rak l'chishayamdo bo yuchal lahavir milibo at she'iris hamirirut. Only after the brothers stand up for Binyamin is Yosef able to remove the bitter feeling, the bitter taste that he has in his mouth from the incident that happened all of those years ago. So that's the first dimension of the dream. The first dimension of the stay was to put the brothers back in a situation where they could rip away a child from his father. Remember, they're down in Binyamin's sack. Yosef says, I'm only interested in Binyamin. Everybody else, take the food for your starving family and go home. Those are very real conditions. The brothers could have walked away without any harm. Were they going to do that? Yosef wanted to see. That would change the way Yosef looked at his brothers. The next part where Persh goes on to say, outside, is that Yosef felt compelled to show his brothers his power. Because he wanted them to understand no longer dealing with a child who has these crazy dreams about being in charge. He wanted to show his brothers that he is in charge. And they're going to need to be comfortable. Because that's the dynamic that is in reality right now. It wasn't just a longing for a futuristic leadership role. These are the facts on the ground. And Yosef felt compelled to come up with this scheme in order to be able to highlight to his brothers the reality. I am really important. I am really in charge. I'm going to be kind to you. I'll treat you as a brother ultimately. But you need to change the way that you view me. I'm no longer a little boy running around with these hurtful dreams. I am now legitimately in charge, and you need to be okay with it. It's an interesting perspective, right? It's not that Yosef is trying to show his brothers all of these mushy-gushy feelings. I'm going to be your brother. I'm going to embrace you. That might have been part of it, but the way Parsha develops the second idea is that Yosef wants to see his real grandeur, his real authority, his real success. He needed them to be comfortable with that before he fully revealed himself. That's a little bit difficult because how were they comfortable with it before they knew who Yosef really was? But you get the sense from reading their Persian side that Yosef felt that there's a real need for them to understand who Yosef was. And before he was able to display all of his authority and his power, he wasn't going to basically show his deck of cards and reveal all of his tricks. He wasn't going to do that. He wanted to give them a runaround so that they're prepared to welcome Yosef back with full knowledge of who he is. And very interesting. I think the first side is a little bit easier to understand, right? The first side that Yosef wanted to give them a test to see where they are makes a lot of sense. The second, that Yosef wanted to show his authority, a little bit harder to understand. But that does seem to be the way Rav Hirsch spins it. Yes. Yeah.
We'll also help them to shape their behavior. Them understanding his authority.
Right.
We have to be straight and narrow and doing this.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Doing them a favor.
Exactly. So again, one could respond. So Rav Hirsch's interpretation is beautiful. One could respond the same way, really, quite frankly, that he responds to the Ramban. Who made you in charge? Your responsibility as a brother is to show mercy and compassion, not to give your brothers the runaround and your father so much pain and suffering. Who made you God? You're concerned that the brothers are not going to embrace you like a brother? Okay, those are legitimate concerns. But do you really have permission to go ahead and to cause them all of this pain just because you want to know if you're going to be accepted back like a brother? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's so fair. I'm not sure. So as I mentioned, I will present two different interpretations. We have the Ramban, Netziv, Haksav, HaKabbalah on the one hand. We have our Hirsch's analysis on the other hand. No one interpretation answers all of the questions, but each of them provides a very interesting framework from which we could view the drama that we begin reading about in Parshat Miketz and ultimately comes to a climax next week when Yosef reveals himself to his brothers. So you'll have to come back next week I wish everybody a happy Hanukkah to all our viewers on the internet. Shalom. I hope this broadcast went smoothly, and it's a pleasure to be learning with everybody.